I sat by the lake, my fishing rod in hand, watching the calm surface of the water. The lake was surrounded by dense forest, and its mirror-like surface seemed like an impenetrable refuge. But I knew that beneath its depths, secrets lay hidden, some of which could be fatally dangerous. Suddenly I heard a strange noise coming from the nearest bush. I jumped to my feet, adrenaline coursing through my veins, and headed towards the source of the sound. But nothing could have prepared me for the horror that was about to unfold before my eyes. Emerging from the thicket were two men. They were dressed in ancient, tattered clothing, dirty and ragged. Their faces bore the harsh marks of a life lived outside of culture and civilization, their eyes reflecting evil and madness. The first man was tall and strong, with a rough beard and gray hair, scars and tattoos covering his body. The second man was much younger, but his steely gaze and jagged mouth made me tremble. They were dangerous, and I realized I had fallen into a trap with them. "You're stepping into our territory," stated the elder of the two, his voice booming from the depths of his soul. "Our rules apply here, and those who trespass must pay." My legs tried to flee the scene, but they refused to obey. I was trapped in a beastly dance of death, with them as the masters. One of them stepped forward, retrieving a sharp knife hidden behind his back. "Here come your knees. It'll only get worse from here," he maliciously grumbled. The agonizing moments transformed into eternity as he struck my knee. Pain shot through my entire leg, and my screams drowned in the emptiness of the forest. They were satisfied by the sight of my suffering, making me a living symbol of their mercilessness. They granted me a brief respite to recover before continuing their inhumane performance. My legs were weak and feeble, but I knew that dying was not an option. Through the haze of pain, I managed to muster the strength to speak. "Please, why are you doing this? What have I done to deserve such cruelty?" The younger man sneered, his eyes gleaming with sadistic pleasure. You're just a pawn in our twisted game," he taunted. "An unfortunate soul caught in the wrong place at the wrong time." Their words twisted the knife in my already wounded body. But amidst the agony, a fire ignited within me. I refused to be a mere pawn, a victim of their sick game. As they prepared for another round of torture, I mustered all the strength I had left. With a burst of adrenaline, I lunged towards the younger man, catching him off guard. Our bodies collided, and I managed to knock the knife out of his hand. It clattered to the forest floor, a glimmer of hope in the darkness. Fear flickered in their eyes as they realized that I was not as helpless as they had believed. I didn't hesitate for a moment. I sprinted towards the safety of the surrounding trees, my body fueled by a desperate will to survive. Behind me, I could hear them cursing and screaming in rage. Branches whipped against my skin, the pain blending with the remnants of their torture. But I pushed forward, propelled by sheer determination and the instinct to escape. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, I burst through the trees and stumbled upon a path. Civilization awaited me, a sanctuary from the horrors I had endured. With the last ounces of my strength, I stumbled my way toward safety. Moments later, I emerged onto a busy road, gasping for breath and covered in blood and dirt. As I staggered towards the passing cars, tears of relief streamed down my face. A kind-hearted stranger pulled over, concern etched on their face. "What happened to you? Are you all right?" they asked, their voice filled with genuine concern. Through shaky breaths, I managed to reply, I was attacked, but I managed to escape. Please, help me." My consciousness was at its limit, a state where the world of reality intertwined with the realm of nightmares. The pole became a dark extension of their endless source of torment. They sought to bring chaos and fear, and I was their living talisman. Leading the way was a man with piercing eyes and a grim countenance. The flames in his eyes conveyed danger and ruthlessness. Contrasting bloodstains floated on his white shirt, accentuating his utter determination. Next to him was a strong and graceful woman, her hands adorned with scars like marks of terrifying battles. Confidence radiated from her, as if she embodied the embodiment of nightmares. The man with the ominous gaze moved forward and, without uttering a word, struck the first man down with his enormous fist. The villain fell to the ground, convulsing in horrifying spasms. Then the woman leaped into the fray, delivering incredibly swift and lethal blows. She wielded the pole as a weapon against my executioners, and the villains were unable to contain her fury. Suddenly, all fell silent. My aggressors were neutralized, their subdued groans piercing the night air. The man and woman stood beside me, their clothing and bodies drenched in the aftermath of a terrible battle, but their eyes spoke of a resolve to continue their investigation. They helped me to my feet and led me along the path deeper into the forest. I felt weakness in every movement, but at the same time, grateful for the newfound hope. As we walked, the man introduced himself as Jack and the woman as Sarah. They explained that they were a team of investigators specializing in uncovering the truth behind supernatural occurrences. They had received reports of a cursed object hidden within this forest, one that brought suffering and despair to anyone who crossed its path. They had come to free its victims and put an end to the malevolence that thrived within. Sarah assured me that I was safe now, that they were there to protect me. Her voice had a soothing quality that eased the turmoil in my mind. Jack added that they had been tracking the activities of the malevolent group responsible for inflicting pain on innocent people. They had finally tracked them down to this forest, where they carried out their sadistic rituals. As we ventured deeper into the forest, the atmosphere grew more oppressive, the trees and their gnarled branches seeming to close in around us. The air was thick with an otherworldly presence, as if the very essence of evil permeated every inch of the forest. We pushed forward, determined to confront the source of this darkness. After what felt like an eternity of navigating through the dense undergrowth, we reached a small clearing. In the center stood a decrepit cabin, its timbers sagging and its windows shattered. It exuded an aura of malevolence, as if the very walls were tainted by the suffering of those who had fallen victim to its curse. Jack cautiously approached the cabin, his hand resting on the hilt of a silver dagger strapped to his side. Sarah followed closely behind, her eyes scanning the surroundings for any sign of danger. We entered the cabin, our footsteps echoing through the dilapidated structure. The interior was as ominous as the exterior, dark and foreboding. The room we stepped into seemed like a chamber of horrors. Bloodstains adorned the walls, symbols of the unspeakable acts that had taken place within these walls. In the center of the room, a small pedestal held the cursed object, a twisted, gnarled staff that emitted an eerie green glow. Its energy pulsed with an unmistakable malevolence, as if it had absorbed the suffering and pain of all its victims. Jack approached the staff with caution, his movements deliberate and focused. He knew the dangers that lay within, the risks of succumbing to its cursed power. Sarah positioned herself to protect both of us, her eyes locked on the entrance, ready to defend against any intruders. With steady hands, Jack reached out and grasped the staff. A surge of energy coursed through his body, causing him to stagger for a moment. The glow of the staff intensified, casting an eerie light that illuminated the room. But Jack stood firm, his resolve unyielding. In that moment, a voice echoed from the shadows, a chilling whisper that sent shivers down our spines. "You dare to challenge the power of the staff? You will all suffer for your insolence." The voice grew louder, reverberating through the room with an unmistakable malevolence. Sarah stepped forward, her eyes ablaze with determination. "We will not let your malice continue. We will free the souls trapped within this cursed object and put an end to your reign of terror." The voice let out a sinister laugh, taunting and filled with contempt. "You are fools, mere mortals who dare to challenge the forces of darkness. Prepare for your demise." With a sudden surge of power, the room erupted into chaos. Shadows emerged from the corners, swirling in a menacing dance. But Jack stood his ground, wielding the staff with newfound confidence. Sarah fought with unparalleled skill, her every strike precise and deadly. The battle waged on, the clash of steel against darkness filling the room. Each of us faced our own adversaries, struggling to hold our ground against the malevolent forces that sought to bring us down. But Jack and Sarah fought with a determination fueled by the desire to protect and to free the innocent souls trapped within the staff. Gradually, the tide began to turn in our favor. The malevolent entities grew weaker, their forms dissipating into ethereal wisps. And then, as suddenly as it began, the fighting ceased. The room fell silent, save for the heavy panting of our breaths and the fading echoes of our adversaries. We stood amidst the ruins, victorious but weary. The cursed staff lay on the ground, its glow extinguished, its power vanquished. The air felt lighter, as if the weight of the malevolence that had once plagued this place had dissipated. Jack and Sarah approached me, their eyes filled with a mix of relief and exhaustion. "It is done," Jack said. "The curse has been broken." I looked around at the remnants of the battle, the scars that marred the walls, and the stories they told. The suffering that had once held me captive in this forest felt like a distant memory. I couldn't thank them enough for freeing me, for bringing an end to the nightmares that had haunted me for so long. As we made our way back through the forest, the sun began to rise on the horizon, casting its warm rays through the treetops. The world felt different now, as if a veil had been lifted, revealing the beauty that had been obscured by darkness. Jack and Sarah assured me that they would continue their work, that they would hunt down the remaining members of the malevolent group and put an end to their reign of terror once and for all. I couldn't help but feel a sense of gratitude towards these brave individuals who fought the darkness so that others could live in peace. As we reached the edge of the forest, I turned to them, my voice filled with sincerity. "Thank you, both of you. You have given me a second chance at life, and I will never forget that." They smiled, their faces weary but filled with a sense of accomplishment. "It was our duty," Sarah said. "No one should have to suffer at the hands of such evil. We will always be here to protect those in need." With that, we parted ways, but their impact on my life would forever remain. I walked away from that dark forest, grateful for the new lease on life that Jack and Sarah had given me. And as I looked back one last time, I couldn't help but feel a glimmer of hope, knowing that there were people out there willing to fight for the light, even in the darkest corners of the world.